Hey guys, I wanted to start this week with a little festive feel because that's kind of what season is here. And we're going to talk about the 10 things you need to know before you move to Southwest Florida. And one of them is going to be about our season and what that means to the grand scheme of things. But let's just say you're thinking about moving to Southwest Florida. You pack your bags and you probably, know a little bit about the area already. We've got beaches, we've got boats, we've got the sunshine. And those are just the highlights. There's so much more to tack on to this, and we're going to talk about every one of them so that when you're ready to make a move to Southwest Florida, you know exactly what you're getting in on. Now, that doesn't mean you can't call and ask questions. You can't email, all those other things. Reach out any way you want to be able to get more answers. But this should give you a good foundation of some of the things to expect because you've heard all kinds of stories out there in the media. Could be another YouTube channel, but I'm going to dial them down for you, give you as good of information as I can. If you want more information beyond that, go ahead, call, text, email. I'm happy to help you out. Okay, so what's the first thing everybody worries about when they move to a new area? Cost of living, right? So you want to start thinking about housing. You've heard all the stories about housing in Florida. Yes, it's somewhat true. All the inventory that's here, yes, that's somewhat true. But as every single client is finding out when they show up and we have 2,500 to 3,000 units that are single family homes that are for sale, just say in the Cape Coral area, they think, wow, I've got all these choices until you give me your parameters. Once you give me your parameters, that's not the case anymore. Your choices are going to be very slim. But the median price right now for, say, Cape Coral is around $350,000. Many of the cities around us are very close. If you get down to Naples, now you're heading up to $1 million. But all in between, you're going to be somewhere between those points. Estero, Bonita Springs, you're going to be in the 450 to 550 range. You go up to Punta Gorda, you're going to be similar to Cape Coral, and Port Charlotte's a little more affordable. But all those areas are directly around us. If you need specific information on any one of those cities, we'll go ahead and hook you up. So one of the things you also know about Florida is that we don't have state income tax. So while that makes you feel like you might have a lot more money in your pocket, there's other things that are different here too. We do have HOAs in many areas, and we have CDDs. If you don't know what a CDD is, it's a community development district. It's another way for the developer to get their money back for the investment they made up front. And you're going to pay this for a number of years. So make sure you get all the information regarding the HOA and all the expenses that go into it before you commit to it. There are going to be varying degrees of these levels. Some of the HOA fees are rather, affordable, especially for what you're getting. That's the thing you have to do. Balance it with what you're getting. Many people were wondering, well, what do I get? Well, you get the clubhouse and you get the pickleball courts and you get the common areas that are taken care of. In many cases, you get your lawn mowed, your water might be included, irrigation could be included. There's a number of different things, but it's a case by case. We'll have to look at each and every HOA, and we're going to find out what the rules are too, because if you're somebody that likes to leave your garage door up all the time and you have a bunch of TV screens in there because you're a big sports freak, that may not be something that is allowed in your HOA. There are going to be places that are sticklers, and many of those places come down to what your neighbors are like. So make friends with your neighbors. That way you won't have problems. In fact, it can be so odd with these fees that I had a client that was coming down from Chicago and they said, that's kind of odd. Your HOA fees are about the equivalent of what it is for me to have my driveway plowed out in the wintertime. Yeah, snow removal. That's the kind of pricing that can be on this stuff. I know it can get expensive. As you know, Eric is from up north and I think he's plowing his own driveway because he has a tractor up there, but I'm not going to say that. He's not here to answer it. So let's just move on. Hurricanes and insurance. So this is a big one. You've heard this before. Hurricanes do not happen as often as you think. I've been here for 31 years, both on the east coast of Florida, in the Miami area, and over on the west coast. What I can share with you is the storms do come. And they come every so often. It really isn't as often as you hear in the news, but they do like to tell you when a new storm is forming because that seems to build the excitement or the anxiety. Depends on which side of the fence you reside. But in the grand scheme of things, storms don't happen all the time. In fact, I've been in my home now for 6 years and I've put the shutters up twice. So that should give you an idea of what you should expect. And one of those was Hurricane Ian. We learned a lot from Hurricane Ian. Nowadays, people are much more prepared. I have people putting Generlinks on their home. That's basically a way to modify your meter so that you can hook a generator directly to it and get power if your power goes out. There's also transfer switches. Transfer switch is another way. It gives you more ability to run more of the house. There is a cost difference between them, so you have to weigh that out for yourself. But these are the things that we're doing to prepare. We're putting in impact windows. People have metal roofs. You look around the number of metal roofs here compared to prior to Ian. No, metal was not popular then, but became very popular when people found out that it's one of the longest lasting materials that you can put on the roof so that you're not having to do it all the time. It's going to protect you very well in addition, but given that I never lived under a metal roof, I can't speak to it. I've heard that it can be louder in rainstorms, and when it rains here, it literally pours. You've heard the saying, when it rains, it pours. That's what it is here every time. To have a soft rain is odd, like a sprinkle all day. We don't get that very often, but the downpours, abso-freaking-lutely. So you might want to get some earmuffs or some kind of, maybe get some beats to put on. You can run some music through if it bothers you much. But anyway, that's one of the things that does happen from that. Now, insurance is where people get sticker shock, and it's not across the board. This is where, again, buying the home at the right price, with the right valuations in the right area, they all play a part. So this is where you need to get with your professional and discuss, where am I going to live? Does it have flood insurance that gets tacked on? How old is the home? Does it have all the storm protections? Do I have hip roofs or do I have gable roofs? All these things go into those insurances. So we want to check as many boxes as possible so that you get the lowest insurance possible. Now, since we're talking about weather, let's talk about weather and lifestyle year-round. Year-round weather, it's absolutely stunningly gorgeous here between probably late November on through April. And when I say stunningly gorgeous, I'm talking 70s, sun shines out, no humidity, absolutely just beautiful. You could probably go out with jeans and a long sleeve shirt and be perfectly comfortable. I know I can because I've done it before. Also, the temperatures do get low enough. I told you about the mini splits that I put in my home, right? That's the cooling side. Do you know these things also heat your space? And do you know how expensive it is to run your AC unit, the main unit for the house? How expensive that is if you run that for heat purposes? It's literally double the triple of what your normal AC bill would be. So the mini splits, efficient across the board. Go ahead, get in there. If you know that you're going to need a little bit of warmth in the wintertime, like I won't take a shower. I won't even really want to get the water running to get ready for a shower unless the bathroom's heated up. So I do have a little space heater for that, but this mini split will take care of the whole space now, and I don't even have to worry about that. But that's just one consideration for that time of year. We know summertime can be hot and sticky. It's going to be humid. You're either going to want to have a pool, have fans. Obviously, AC, you can retreat there anytime, and there's AC in your car. There's AC in the stores, in the restaurants, and in your house. So it's very easy to adjust to living here if we're only talking about keeping you cool. But boats are another big thing here. So if you're somebody who likes to be out on the water, I will guarantee you this. Get out on the water. If you don't get breezes there, even though it's dead on land, you will always have a breeze in the water. Very comfortable out there, even in the sun. That nice breeze that's always kind of kicking along is perfect. So during season, this is where we talk, the majority of that time frame is January through April. You're going to want to adjust to a couple things. First of all, waiting times for everything. Traffic is going to be heavier. If you go out to dinner, plan ahead, definitely put reservations in. You're still going to want to get there early. It's still going to have a wait for the most part, unless you're one of those early birds and one of the really late eaters. It's going to be busy. That's just what it is. And it's everywhere along the coast. So if you're trying to be in a coastal town anywhere in Florida, get ready for that. It's real. It's going to happen. Bridges will back up as well. The people that come here, the snowbirds, they don't have a sense of what the clock means. So even though you're trying to get to work and you're in a hurry, they're kind of bebopping around the roads. Just, oh, look at the pretty sunrise. Oh, did you see how nice the river looked this morning on the bridge? That's what they're doing. And you're sitting there like, move it. I want to get to work. I'm going to be late. So get ready to deal with that. It will happen. It's for a few months. The other thing that happens at that same time is we also have schools in session. So you're going to have car lines, you're going to have buses, all kinds of extra things on the road this time of the year. But the trade-off for the weather, I don't know that there's a better way to do it. Now, jobs and economy, people think this is a retirement area. People think Florida and they think of their grandparents. And I get it because that's what it always was. That's not what it is anymore. Median age is about 47 years old. So it's no longer for the gray hairs, the blue hairs, whatever you want to call them. It's for everyone now. And it is a very diverse state. You will have people from all over the place, all kinds of backgrounds and cultures that are here. And many of our bigger cities cater to all that stuff. So even if our city isn't as big and doesn't have as many museums and things like that, 2 hours up the road to Tampa, 2 hours to Miami, you'll get all of that you need, even if we don't have it here locally. Now, with this job market, we've got healthcare, we've got construction, we've got a lot of corporations that are coming in now because it's a very tax-friendly state for the businesses, and they know that they can probably get employees to want to go to Florida. Outside of that, remote workers are blowing the top off of everything. And in fact, I just had a conversation the other day with Juan and his other half. They're going to be moving across the state from the East Coast, and they're both remote. So it doesn't matter where they move. They know they want to stay in Florida, and they don't want to go north. They want to keep the nice climate down south. But you know what? Miami's crazy. Yeah, I lived there for 8 years. It's crazy. And if you're not bilingual, it's even crazier. Ask me how I know. No, I'm not bilingual. English only, folks. Sorry. Healthcare access, I've heard knocks on this before, and you know what? I'm going to give you my experience real quick, if that's okay with you. With healthcare, I have been in the fortunate position of finding good healthcare and good providers, but the things I'm dealing with, I think, are relatively surface items to an extent. Yes, I have a general practice doctor, and I have a dermatologist, which you would have heard about her previously. Stina is the best. Associates in dermatology, amazing. She loves to burn me and cut stuff off me, and now she's got my son. My son's going to her at 15 years old and already getting stuff burnt and cut. So she obviously does a good job, great bedside manner, does a wonderful, wonderful job with the actual procedures. But there's one guy in particular I've got to shout out to him, Dr. Tomas. He did a second hernia surgery for me. First one was about 12 years ago, and he said, I am lucky as all get out to wait until now for the second one. I'm literally a week out of surgery. Yes, it's been painful in the recovery, but I know that now that it's done, it's done. But the best thing about him is it was fast, it was easy, it was convenient, great bedside manner. Again, all the people in the office very accommodating and just very helpful. So if you feel like you're not getting the health care attention that you need, find another doctor. They're here. They are there. You just have to look for them. It's like anything else. You can get recommendations from people. If you try it out and you didn't have the same experience, try again. But they're here. It's like anywhere else in the country. Healthcare is healthcare. Yes, it's going to come in varying degrees. If you want a specialty, if you need a specialist and it's something rare or something that's a little more difficult to treat, we are very close to big cities. So Tampa and Miami have many more medical facilities right there. And again, they're 2 hours away. So we can treat many, many things here. The healthcare is just as good as you can expect it to be. And for all those people that want to knock on it, I'm sorry for your experience. But I'm going to say from my experience, it's been stellar, and I'd have no problem recommending the people I've used. Traffic and transportation, we kind of hit on this a minute ago, just talking about how crazy it gets in season. Well, the traffic and transportation is very suspect. Let's say it that way. Ubers are going to be one of your best ways to get around. They're almost always available throughout any of the areas. Even into a small town like Punta Gorda, they're still going to have Ubers. But buses, Cape Coral really doesn't have them. North Fort Myers, it's going to be limited. As you get down further south, it's going to be a little more limited in some of the areas in between, say like the Esteros and the Bonita Springs, but they exist. There is public transportation. It's just on a very small scale. Most areas are not walkable. Unless you're living in a downtown area and you're in a condo, an apartment or something, maybe you're fortunate enough to find a single family home in the city area. But I will say most areas are not walkable. You will need some form of transportation, possibly even have to have your own car or bicycle if you really want to. The awesome thing though is we have plenty of airports. RSW is right here. That's our regional airport. It's an international airport and it's expanding. It's getting even larger. They handle millions and millions of travelers throughout the course of a year. So it is a very busy hub, But just go north a little bit to Punta Gorda. You can get a smaller airport, literally where you walk on the tarmac to get in the plane. You're going to go into some maybe smaller markets. And if you do go to a bigger market, you're going to have a very tight schedule of when you can go. Now, if you want to go to Atlanta, because it seems to connect everywhere, you can get there anytime. I mean, you can go with any airline to get to Atlanta. That is the biggest central hub for air travel anywhere near us. Outside of that, we touched on the bridges. They're going to be busy when you travel. So keep that in mind when you're scheduling things, whether it's getting to work, getting to an appointment, whatever it may be. Other than that, it's really not that different than living in any other area outside of, say, Fort Myers being a little bit more commercial, retail, and Cape Coral is more residential. Those are going to have vast differences when you're talking about how the city's laid out. However, they're both very pleasant to live in. Fort Myers would be much more community-oriented and gated community styles, whereas Cape Coral is going to be more subdivisions and not necessarily gates around it. But we have the canals around it, so it treats it like a gate. You're just not behind walls. Schools and family. Schools are pretty much across the board going to be very similar. Public school system, this is the way it's always been from my experience. My son is now in high school. You go elementary school, it's almost all A's and B's across the board for all the schools because the kids are still little. They're not influenced by a lot of stuff, so easier to keep them in line, right? Then you get to middle school. A lot of things start happening, getting into more sports, starting to notice the girls or the boys, whatever it is. And you just have more interest as you get older. So your attention to school may not be as strong. So you're going to see more B to C. Now, when you get to high school, C is pretty much across the board what it is. And again, there are some exceptions to this. So don't take this as a blanket coverage to everything. This is just what you see because the level of what the kids that they're teaching, their lives are changing. My son is now playing football. He just got a car, which, geez, insurances. If we talk about auto insurances, you want to hit me up. Comment down below if you want to have an in-depth conversation about adding a child to your insurance because it blew my mind. I've heard stories, but until you actually have to do it yourself, ridiculous. Anyway, with the schools though, it all comes down to their ages and just how they treat the schooling. And again, how much influence you as the parent have with them. Do you spend a lot of time sitting down with them and preparing them for tests and things like that? Or do you let them do it on their own? That can play a big part in it. Your involvement means a lot to them. Now, the family life. This is where you start looking at parks and sports activities. My son's been in sports with the city of Cape Coral since he was little. I still remember him when he was running around at probably 4 years old playing soccer and sprinting up and down the field. And it seemed like his energy never stopped. And he just progressed through baseball, flag football. He's playing, tackle football now. But all these programs, even BMX, he raced in BMX, won awards and stuff. But, again, the kids at that age, their brains are just wanting to go in all these different directions. So in that case, there are lots of programs here. There's even arts and dance and all that stuff that is available. Many, many programs. There are programs for the summertime as well. So if your kids need to be taken care of while you're at work, we've got that covered too. Outdoor and waterfront living. This is one of the very top things that you're going to be considering when you're moving here because you will want to be outside all the time. Becky and Matt, hey, you've heard their names before. They came, we're now putting in an offer for their home finally. They're finally at the point where we can do that. And they came here to rent an Airbnb of a type of home that they want, like the one they're purchasing, because they wanted to see what it felt like. And you know what they found out? They were in the pool, on average, probably 5 hours a day, and just soaking up all the sun and the water and just the outdoor atmosphere, and they absolutely love it. You think you're going to come here and stay inside watching TV and air conditioning? You're not going to. You're going to be outside. You're going to be at the pool. You're going to be on a boat. You're going to be at the beach. You might go to a park or a farmer's market, or hey, it could be one of the seafood festivals or any of the other things here. We have music walks. We have art walks. There are many things to do here. Just type it in your computer, ask what's going on this weekend, and you'll have a list of places to go. The other part of that, since we're talking about waterfront, Cape Coral has more canals than anywhere in the world. And if you really, really want to live on water, it'll give you the most opportunity. And again, the more opportunities that you're offered, usually the lower the price. So if you're looking for golf access or just to be on a canal or any kind of water, Cape Coral has more of it than anywhere around us. So you're generally going to find a at least more options. I'd like to say more affordably, but it depends on what you're comparing it against. And remember, it's coastal. So if you go inland, things get cheaper. You go coastal, it gets more expensive. It's just what it is. Wildlife and nature, yes, you hear about gators and snakes and iguanas, maybe? Well, we have plenty of them. If you haven't seen them before, you're going to see plenty. But there's a lot of other things here, like the real winners of the show are the dolphins and the manatees and the sea turtles. Yes, sea turtles. They're the coolest things ever, just massive and beautiful. But they swim right to the top. They don't hang out very long if they see you, but it's a great thing to see. And the burrowing owls. If you don't stop and just take in these little creatures for any amount of time, you're just not human. You have no heart. These things are the cutest things, and they'll turn their head sideways and look at you funny, and there'll be 6 of them doing it at the same time because they're not used to people coming and staring at them. But it's a really cool thing to see. If you see white stakes, 4 white stakes around a center crossed stake, that's where their stand is. Right underneath that's going to be a hole full of owls. And they will have certain times of day that they're out more than others, but once you kind of get their schedule and get an idea of what they like and don't like, if you really want to take these creatures in, man, it's something to behold. Love the little guys. Community and culture. Okay, this probably isn't one of the top things for me to discuss because as far as arts and things like that go, the theater, it's not my bag. It never has been. I've done it. I've tried it. It's just not my thing. But if you're looking for that, there is some of that locally here in the area. And if you look a little deeper and go into some of the little communities and stuff, they will have many different programs that you can look into the culture and the arts and all that. I just can't be a reference for you because it's, again, not my thing. But as far as community goes, we learned exactly what the community is like when Ian came through because everybody banded together. We had people that were banded together at the church to hand supplies out. We had people that were over at the park here handing more supplies out. We had folks that were just assisting others that either couldn't get their fence back together or couldn't even pick up the stuff around the yard because everything was scattered everywhere. So community came together big time at that point. And again, it just showed the resilience that we have, regardless of what our challenges are. And we all understand we're in the same boat for the most part. So community is very strong here. And if that's what you're looking for, maybe this area is for you. Okay, so that is a little bit about the 10 things that you need to know before you move to Southwest Florida, Cape Coral, Fort Myers, whatever it is. If you found this video to be helpful at all, go ahead and like it and maybe subscribe to the channel. And please know, if you don't get anything more from these videos, then you can do what everyone else is doing. Call, text, email. We can jump on a Zoom call. We're coming out with a new website that's going to help you search even better than the app that we have for you. So hang tight. We're going to introduce that shortly. But if none of that other stuff works, just give me a call because I've got your back when moving to the Gulf Coast.